Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, "Satan is not a pogo stick." The original OP is Throwaway Mother Holy, posted to r/relationships January 12th, 2016. Me, 23 female, found a picture of my mom in an elderly person's home. Hi all, this whole post may be a little disheveled due to me writing it on a tablet, but here it goes. I work at a large facility where we take care of seniors that can no longer take care of themselves. It's not exactly a nursing home, as some of our residents have health issues or cognitive problems. Regardless of that, I love my job and work with people every day. I was recently reassigned to a new area with residents I had never worked with before. In particular, was a man I had never met before, but he seemed like a really funny guy. Both of his legs were amputated and he has no real family left to take care of him. While putting him to bed, I saw he had a small pinboard filled with pictures of what I assumed is what is left of his family. Many of them are elders like him, except for one picture that contains my mother. I had to do a double take at first, as I didn't believe it at first. The picture is the resident and my mother. Very close, holding hands. It's definitely my mother, albeit a little younger. She looks to be in her 30s, whereas the resident looks a little younger, but not by much. Why is this such a big deal? I moved states over 7 months ago and currently live in a northern state. My whole family is on the East Coast, including my mother. As far as I knew, no one in my family had stepped foot in this state ever before. Furthermore, I asked the resident if he had ever left this state and traveled. According to him, he's been here all his life, as he had never had enough money to leave. He has no cognitive issues, and I believe him wholeheartedly. This next part may upset some people, but I had to do this. I did not want to randomly ask the resident about the picture, so when he finally fell asleep, I turned the picture over real quick, and sure enough, the picture had my mom's name and the resident's name, along with a year. This meant my mother was with this gentleman when I was 8. At the time, she was married to my father and had been for some time. They're celebrating a long marriage soon too. Like, what do I do? The picture is evident of some kind of affair. My mother traveled a lot during work before she retired. Do I tell my father? Do I ask the resident? They look really cozy in this picture. Help. Too long didn't read. Found a picture of my mother in a stranger's room. Timeline indicates possible affair. Top comments. Awkward male. Ask the resident. I don't consider that a random question when you see your mother on someone's wall, but do not disclose it is your mother. Just, hey, who's that woman in the picture? Miss Pearl Snaps comments. Ask him to tell you about the people in his pictures. You need more information before deciding what action to take, and from a picture of two people holding hands, you can't know that they had an affair. User Fogno comments, holy shit, that's some juicy stuff. Rule number 1, don't assume anything. You know what happens when you assume things, right? It could very well be an innocent chapter of his life that happened to include your mother. Since you work here, it sounds like you'll be seeing this resident a lot. Why not just make casual conversation about the pictures in his room? It's not dishonest to have a casual conversation with someone. Besides, outright saying, "That's my mother," may surprise him or scare him off the topic if there really is any scandal going on there. Don't go jumping to conclusions and involving people if there are ways to assess the situation in a harmless manner. If there really was an affair, then you should handle that with a different thought process once you know more about the situation. It could still be nothing. Update. January 16th, 2016. 4 days later. Hi all, I wanted to thank all of you for the replies, advice, and even private messages. Some of you were very helpful, and others not so much. I apologize in advance if this is discombobulated or formatted weirdly. So many of you agreed that I should probably bring up the picture nonchalantly. I decided to do that the next time I was able to take care of John. Name change to protect privacy. Last night was the night I was assigned to take care of him, and I braced myself for the reveal. As I was putting John to bed, I looked at the pinboard and remarked what a great-looking amount of people were on it. John smiled as well and asked for me to bring him the board itself so he could go over the people on it. John has been declining in health recently, but his mind is still quite fresh, so it's nice to see him remember his past life. As he went through each and every photograph, I smiled on the outside but was absolutely dreading on the inside. I knew he was slowly getting to the bottom where my mom was, staring back at me with her signature smile. Once he got to her, he paused, sighed, and looked up at me. Ever lose someone you thought you could live together with? His voice was so croaked, like he was going to cry any second. I asked him how he met her and who she was. Though I did not care at this point. With the way he spoke about it, it would appear my mother has indeed cheated on my father. John met my mother, Joanne, again, privacy change, years ago during a business conference. He was a contractor doing repairs in the facility the conference was held in, and my mother was there on business. They met, sparks flew, and she cheated on my father, apparently. I don't think John realizes he cheated with my mother. As soon as he was done explaining, I put him to bed with a fake smile, closed myself in the employee bathroom, and cried. I haven't cried like that in a long time. John told me their relationship ended when she left town after 3 days, but they continue to send letters back and forth for years. He still has them, and they're somewhere in his room. I'm heartbroken and drinking heavily tonight. How should I go about this? My mom and dad are well known in the community for their rock-solid marriage. This would absolutely kill my father. How do I clear my conscience but not kill my parents' marriage? Too long didn't read. Mom cheated on my dad with older guy. Now I take care of him in elderly assist home. This is definitely one of those the truth is stranger than fiction kind of stories where you just happen to run into the guy who happened to have a photo of your mom after she went on a business trip in another state, and now you happen to be the one taking care of him. This is one of those weird circumstances where a lot of the way that you approach this depends on your personal philosophy. Do you just simply take this to the grave to maintain your parents' marriage, even though that it is built on lies, it's still maintaining the happiness of two people? Or do you just out it right in front of everyone and just be like, hey mom, what the fuck is this, in front of your dad as well, and just start the flames going? Or do you approach your mother about it, get confirmation or talk to them and see if maybe this is something that they've already worked through in their marriage? I mean, if they're sending letters, I would imagine that maybe there was a chance they could have been caught while, mailing each other. I think I would probably be in the boat of confronting my mother first about this and then seeing what options are available afterwards. I'd be really curious, though, to see how the audience splits and what approaches y'all would take in a circumstance like this, because this is definitely a messy one, and it's a shame that after 10 years, these were the only 2 updates posted. This post was collected by Lucy Aria Rose, and their tagline is, I'm keeping the garlic. The original OP is Depressed Tim Tam, posted to r/am I the asshole. Posted February 4th, 2026. Am I the asshole for giving my friend a much-needed reality check? My mate and I are both in our mid-30s. We've known each other for over 20 years, and realistically, we've been each other's main support system for most of that time. He's the only person I speak to regularly, and I'm the same for him. Let's call him Dave. I recently moved to another city for work, so we don't get to hang out in person anymore. We still call every few days, and despite everything, I genuinely love the guy like a brother. I don't see us ever not being in each other's lives. I could go on about his best qualities, but respectively, Dave has all of my worst traits but turned up to 100. I struggle with depression and social anxiety too, but I've been putting in the effort to turn things around. I've been exercising, going outside, forcing myself into small social situations, and trying to look after myself even on the rough days. Dave, on the other hand, has been going the opposite direction. He barely leaves the house anymore. His hygiene has dropped off dramatically. He doesn't try to take care of himself physically or emotionally, and whenever I gently encourage him, he brushes it off or gives me the, "What's the point?" line. I'm not a therapist, and I've told him that. I can support him, but I can't fix him. The reoccurring issue is this. Dave has never been romantic with anyone, which isn't a problem on its own. I've had my own struggles in that area, and being single is not a character flaw. The problem is that every few weeks he spirals into a rant about how unfair life is, how no girl will ever want someone like him. and how the universe has personally decided he doesn't get love. Last week during a call, I snapped. Not yelling, just brutal honesty. I told him, you never leave the house, you don't shower, you don't groom yourself, and you spend all day doom scrolling and feeling sorry for yourself. You can't expect someone to magically appear when you're doing nothing to make yourself feel better or put yourself out there. Even if it's not guaranteed, you're making your odds worse. Honestly, you're starting to think like an incel. He absolutely lost it. He called me unsupportive, rude, and even called me a traitor. Then he said some genuinely nasty things about my ex-fiancé leaving me. It was stuff that came out of nowhere and cut pretty deep. I hung up. He's tried calling me a few times since, and I haven't picked up because I'm still heated and honestly, a bit hurt. I'm sure we will eventually talk things out, but I'm very nervous about our next conversation too. So am I the asshole for finally giving him the reality check he's refused to hear for years? Some of OP's comments. Laylaws. Everyone sucks here. Agreed. I don't think it's friendship ending depending on what was said about the ex-fiancé. Sounds like everyone needs a cooling off period and then some deeper friendship talks. Hopefully you're able to help him out, OP. Depression is a cruel thing. I get that you've been through your own version, but you don't know his. He might need meds to get himself to a baseline where he can crawl out. He might need additional support to start to form new habits. I think you were right to give him a wake-up call on the dating front, but I think you're being the asshole about his mental health. OP responds, I'll be sending him a text later today. I've had some time to think, and reading these responses have given me a good idea of how to approach things. I'd hate to lose my friendship with him, and I'm going to try to be more empathetic and patient going forward while doing my best to point him in the right direction. I've hit rock bottom before, but I know what I've done to better myself isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, and I acknowledge so much is easier said than done. Hoping for the best. Dave has always been a great person deep down. These last couple of years have just been especially hard on him, I think. User Dolqual123 comments, honestly, I'm torn on this one. You were an asshole to him, but he's also being an asshole to himself. I'd probably say everyone sucks here. Do you have a therapist that works with you? Maybe he could meet virtually with them. I really don't think friends and family should share therapists, if I'm gonna be honest. I'm not putting this on you, but it sounds like when you moved, he lost his support system and it drove him into a deeper depression. OP responds, I do think me moving away had a big impact. He was more motivated to go out because we had a few spots where he liked to hang. I do have a really good therapist, and I would like to bring up the idea to him. I hope he'd be receptive. Significance Head 9957 comments, talk to him before any more time passes. Explain that what you said was expressed unkindly, but the brutal honesty came from a place of genuine concern because, as you said, you love him like a brother. Also, can you invite him to visit? Don't lose a good friend over this. OP responds, I will be back in our hometown some point in a couple of weeks. I'm going to see if he'd like to meet up. But I'm going to call/text him later today to lay everything out and work on patching things up. I'll always have his back, and I hope he's receptive to what I have to say. Top comments. TechBear72. Not the asshole. Part of having long-standing close friends is that they get to be actually honest with us. Sometimes, even things that make you feel bad are also true, and it's those deep friendships that allow us to say it out loud. User Safety Fluid 8535 comments, this and emphasize that it's a benefit of having long-standing relationships. User Somewhat Soluble comments, not the asshole, he needed to hear that. Puzzle-headed ad 7606 comments, the old adage applies here, real friends stab you in the front. I'm sure it hurt for him to hear those things, but he needed someone he respects to give him honest feedback that is outside of his own headspace of being a victim. OP is voted not the asshole, but responses are mixed. Update, February 8th, 2026, 4 days later. Since my original post, Dave and I finally had a proper conversation. I gave him a call the day after the post. He told me that what I said genuinely hurt him, but he also admitted that deep down he knew I was right. He ended up breaking down and opening up in a way he never has before. He said this isn't the life he pictured for himself, that he feels like he's let his family down, and that he worries it's too late to turn things around. For context I didn't include earlier, Dave comes from a very strict Asian household. He was expected to become a high-earning professional, and while his two younger siblings have gone on to build successful careers and start families, Dave burned out in uni. He told me that watching his siblings thrive while he struggles has crushed his self-esteem over the years. He also revealed that his dad refuses to speak to him now. This is something I had no idea about until this conversation. He said he did understand that I was coming from a place of love, but I apologized for the way my bluntness came across. He also apologized for the comment he made about my ex-fiancé, which really did cross a line, and we cleared the air there. I tried reassuring him that he's always been an incredible friend and a genuinely good person. I reminded him that his siblings used to look up to him and still come to him for advice sometimes, which says a lot about who he is beyond his struggles. I told him I'd support him however I reasonably can, but that real change has to come from him. And to his credit, he started taking some small steps. He promised to get back into basic self-care, look into therapy, and try easing himself into a routine again. He even went out, got his long, greasy hair cut, shaved, and honestly, he looks like a different person already. That alone seemed to lift his spirits a bit. Going forward, I'm planning to approach things with more empathy and patience. Life has genuinely hit Dave hard, and I want to help him climb out of this rough spot at a pace that's realistic for him. I know what it's like to feel trapped in a dark place, and I'm hoping that with enough time and support, he'll eventually find his way out. We're meeting up back in our hometown next week, and we're going to be watching some of our favorite movies at his place. Some of OP's comments. Fabulous Trick 8859. Awesome update. You sound like a really good friend and that's great. I hope Dave finds himself again. OP responds, thank you. I hope so too. Very excited to hang out with him after a long while. User No Appointment 7232 comments, and be aware there's likely going to be backsliding and even later denying what he said when he owned his responsibility. You may want to learn a little bit about manipulative abuse. Unfortunately, sometimes in our struggles with our mental health, we feel the need to control as many things as people in our lives will let us control. It's not good and it ends poorly. I might let a friend know that I'm aware of that part of the cycle and ask them how I can help redirect them, if and when it comes to that. OP responds, I figured as much based on my own experience. I texted him about an hour ago to reassure him about this very thing. Even though it's only been a couple of days, he's being much more open and honest with me. And I hope that going forward, he will let me know if he starts to spiral again. User Ellis Mom 1313 comments, yep, as a woman, I wish I could reach out to Dave and say, you're fine dude, work on yourself on the small level. Care about hygiene and make small attempts to get out. Women aren't as a whole callous, but we're human, and hygiene is important. He sounds willing to listen to his faults. That's huge. He doesn't need a woman in his life, but if he wants one, hygiene and listening to advice and willing to take it are huge. OP responds, I've actually always been somewhat surprised that Dave hasn't had a girlfriend. Back when we were younger, he always seemed so well-liked, and he seemed to have loads of friends of both sexes. I assumed he was at least getting laid, but I found out a few years ago that wasn't the case. He slowly became more and more isolated during uni. I'm biased because he's my best friend, but he's never been a bad-looking guy either. His genetics for aging are also really good. If he lost a little weight, I bet he would look close to how he did at age 17. It just goes to show that you never really know what's going on under the surface. I'm glad he's trying to be more hygienic and address his deeper issues. Hopefully David is able to get back on his feet, because mental health struggles like this can be really difficult, and as unfortunate as it is, and as difficult as it can be, sometimes the best advice that you need is the harshest advice, the ones that actually gives you a bit of reality check and helps you begin to move forward and put things back together. During 2023 and 2024, I let a lot of what was going on with me be an excuse for why I wouldn't let myself get back on my feet. I was waiting for some kind of just magical solution or end-all be-all that would instantly fix everything and, oh, look at that, everything's working again. But I kind of had to look inward and realize that a lot of the problems that I'm having with actually getting my feet back up and getting my foot in the door and starting to pace myself with productivity and actually pushing forward, it took a lot of self-reflection and actually building myself back up. And more importantly, it actually took a lot of effort on my own to get myself to a point where I was actually able to do daily uploads on the Vault channel, where I was actually able to get work done and be productive and be functioning again. It took a lot. And a year later, I've pretty much been able to have daily uploads for well over a year now, and it feels good. It took a lot, but feels good. I also have to be careful to not beat myself up over the fact that I'm not being as productive as I would like to be. I mean, in a dream scenario, I would be doing the Vault channel, the main channel, and the gaming channel and be rocking with that, but not quite there yet, even after a year. Hopefully with time that changes. But my point being is that sometimes, for some people, not for everyone, sometimes what you need is for a friend to be brutally honest with you and kind of give you a bit of a wake-up call. I would much rather have a friend directly address their problems with me and allow us to rebuild that if I'm going through a rough time than to just simply walk away and talk shit about me behind my back. This post was collected by Lucy Aria Rose, and their tagline is, "I'm keeping the garlic." The original OP is MostAnimal5816, posted to r/amItheasshole, February 6th, 2026. Am I the asshole for asking my neighbor to wait for her laundry at her house? Yesterday, after I picked my son up from school, my neighbor flagged me down in the driveway to ask me if she could use my laundry machine because hers was broken. I said sure, because she's my neighbor. While she was in her house gathering her laundry, I made grilled cheeses for myself and my son. When she came over, I showed her where the machine was. After loading the machine, she came into the kitchen. My neighbor asked if she could have a grilled cheese. I might just be a dick, but I thought that was a ridiculous thing to ask. I told her I only made 2. She asked why I did that since I knew she was coming over. Because she was coming over for laundry, not grilled cheese. My son offered her half of his. I always put an egg in my grilled cheese sandwiches. Oh, that's a good idea. She bit into it and was grossed out by the egg, which she would have seen before she bit into it. She then asked where my trash can was. My son said, "Don't waste food." So she just handed the sandwich back to him. I told him to switch halves with me and then bin the sandwich half when he wasn't looking. She asked to use my bathroom, which I of course agreed to. She came back to the kitchen after and asked if I had any refreshments. I said no and suggested that she wait for her clothes to finish at home. She asked if I was trying to get rid of her. I said we needed to start on homework. She said she didn't mind. I said we needed to keep distraction to a minimum. She said, "Well, I know when I'm not wanted," and left. When she came back to switch her clothes to the dryer, she was very irritated. I apologized for hurting her feelings. She said it didn't matter, but she sounded angry. Then she left. I feel bad, but I also feel annoyed because who acts like that? Okay, like, do you cook the egg in like a pan, then put it on the grilled cheese, or do you crack the egg over the cheese and then use the heat from the skillet to cook it that way? Because I've got some experimentation I want to do. I'm so curious because this is such a good idea. It's a really good way to add easy protein to the mix. I mean, you throw in some chives, some black pepper, a little bit of salt, ooh, some cream frige, or green onions. Green onions would also do really well. Maybe some peppers. Oh God, yeah, you could easily just cook a quick egg, make sure it's sunny side up and has the nice yolk ready to go. Soft poach it if you want to. Ooh, poaching eggs in a grilled cheese sandwich. God damn, that sounds awesome. Oh, the more that I talk about this, the more it's diverging from an actual grilled cheese and becoming a breakfast melt, but still, I like the way OP thinks. Some of OP's comments. Ananon doo-doo-doo-doo, not the asshole. Is she elderly? If so, she's probably lonely or she might just be very nosy. OP responds, I think she's in her 30s. Maybe a hot early 40s. Also, she's married and has kids. User C Operation 6123 comments, how close are you with this woman? Has she been in your house before? Do y'all socialize? This whole thing is very strange. Not the asshole. Let her be upset. If she doesn't get why she was rude, you're not going to be able to explain it to her. OP responds, I actually just moved here last month. I think I've spoken to her maybe twice. This was her first time coming into my house. I also think it was strange, to be honest. User Moji7227 comments, she wants to be in your life. Are you a guy or a lady? OP responds, a guy. User Mango Getter comments, aha! OP responds, she's married and she's at least 10 years older than me. User Coco A Stitches Art responds, well, people can still cheat even if married. She was super entitled and weird. Opie responds, oh, I know, been there. Yeah, I don't really want her around me either way at this point. Beth21286 comments, oh, Nelly, does that woman need to learn some basic manners? Clearly she didn't know when she wasn't wanted, but hopefully she does now. Ish. I hope you explain to your kid how ill-mannered she was and to never behave like that in other people's homes. Opie responds, yeah, she put me in an awkward position with him. Obviously, I want a model for him to always be polite and welcoming, but there is a limit. It's a more nuanced situation than a 5-year-old can properly grasp. Update for the post, February 7th, 2026, the next day. I have a tiny update about my weird neighbor with the broken washing machine. She came back. I know 90% of you said to never let her back in my house, so you're probably going to judge me heavily. In my defense, I was a little flustered by the whole thing. She waved me down again when we were walking up to the house. She said to wait because she had something for me. I waited because I'm stupid. I figured she would just knock on the door anyway if I didn't. She came back with a pie that she said was thanks for using my washing machine. I said thank you, and she didn't have to. She said, let's go inside and try a piece. I said it was almost my son's nap time. She said, great, we can eat pie while he naps. A lot of you said she might have been interested in me, and that was still in my head, so I said, yeah, and you should invite your husband over too. I was expecting that to deter her. Nope, she got very excited. She said, that's a great idea. Here, you take the pie and I'll go get him. So at that point, I'm internally thinking, what the fuck? My son and I went inside. I started cutting pieces of pie because at this point, I felt like a victim of fate. She came over with her husband. I have never seen a man that looked as exasperated and embarrassed as this guy. We ate pie, and the whole time she asked me weird questions while her husband looked annoyed. Every once in a while, I would say something and she would give her husband a look. He kept pretending not to see the looks. After we finished the pie, she asked if I had coffee. Her husband said, honey, he wants to put his son down for a nap. Let's go home. She said, oh, he doesn't mind. Her husband said, he minds. Well, he took her elbow and started leading her out the door. She kept insisting that I didn't until they were outside. I gotta say, I think I'm in love with this guy. As weird and annoyed as the whole thing was, I feel a lot better about my neighbor now. Some of the comments had some pretty crazy speculation that made me a little nervous. Now that I've met her husband, I'm pretty sure she's just bored, which is fine. It's annoying, but not creepy. So to all the people who were worried she was trying to seduce me or spy on me or steal from me, don't worry. Based on her husband's reactions, she's just like this. Some of OP's comments. Empower Red 21. Obviously not the asshole, but sounds like you've made a new buddy. He definitely goes through it on the daily, judging by his actions. Hey, at least you got some pie out of it. OP responds, this is going to sound so bad, but the pie wasn't that good. Way too much sugar. To another commenter, it wasn't that great. To answer the question below, it was an apple pie. It was canned filling and had way too much sugar. It wasn't the worst pie ever, but she didn't even do a lattice crust. That's like the whole point of making a pie. Complete General 546 comments. Okay, are you a super interesting person? I was thinking it was your neighbor person, but now I'm curious if you're just really intriguing. People are always asking my husband and I questions, and I realized this after I was like, why are there always freaks who try to be friends with me? Opie responds, not really. I'm divorced. I have a kid. She seemed really zeroed in on that topic. I think divorce is actually pretty common, but maybe not in our social circle. My son and I are in a minority group. Not a super interesting one, or anything though. Northwest direction. Oh shit, she absolutely wants to set you up with someone she knows. OP responds, no, I don't want a rebound girlfriend. I don't want to be one of those guys. Hung White Boy 25. Absolutely, but not gonna lie, OP was kind of an idiot inviting the husband over too. OP responds, I figured if I said that and she was freaked out, proof that she had bad intentions. If I said it and she wasn't, I don't need to worry about her trying to seduce me. So at least I now have that peace of mind. User Willow's Quest comments, some suburban-type women have a slight fixation on the notions of kids and motherhood. I don't know if your neighbors have their own kids, part of me assumes not if she has time to be doing all this, lol. But maybe she has some half-baked subconscious idea about being a feminine influence for the poor divorced man and his motherless son, Lamau. Not in a, I'm gonna be your mom way, but in the slightly bored, maybe well-intentioned, busybody neighbor way where she'll assume, well, some woman has to get involved in their lives, so it might as well be me. As though being a woman within proximity confers a natural positive influence, with the woman's touch in the sense of, she'll happily rearrange your couch pillows if you let her, or something. She might also just be weird in a general bad at social cues way, LMAO. Opie responds, I think this is it. I'm pretty sure her kids are teenagers, so maybe now that her kids are at the leave me alone age, she wants a project. Based on her behavior and a lot of the comments, I feel this is most likely. User Fornicate777 comments, stay with me. Is she white, and are you a minority? Opie responds with, yes. There's no follow-up on that line of questioning. User MangoPango123 comments, I'm so curious because I've been going through the comments and I can't find any about this part of your story, but can you please give me any examples of the weird questions she asked you and what/why the look's about? I hope you see my comment because I don't know why, but I really want to know, LMAO. OP responds, mostly stuff about my divorce. I'm not salty about my divorce, so it didn't really hurt my feelings, but she didn't know that, so I thought it was rude/weird. She wanted to know how long ago I got divorced, where we used to live, why I moved, why I have primary custody, what school my kid used to go to, what my ex-wife does for work, how she feels about not being the primary parent. Nosy stuff. She also asked why we got divorced, which I didn't have to answer because her husband actually cut her off on that one. He said, that's a private matter, and she dropped it. Yeah, it sounds like the neighbor is just probably incredibly bored or lonely at home and is just trying to find a friend or something and just latched on really quickly. In the meantime, I'm really hungry now for some reason, can't explain why, and I'm gonna go play around in the kitchen for a bit. Later, everyone. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code OZ at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code OZ directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code OZ at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.